over the last 5 years, SWORD has fundamentally changed how people access care. And we've achieved this not by developing new AI solutions that assist clinicians in how they do their work, but beyond that, even more importantly, we've been using AI solutions that enable our members to access high-quality care independently in the comfort of their homes. And we've done it at scale. We've so far, since 2020, enrolled more than 700,000 members in one of our AI care solutions. But more important than this number is the fact that each one of these members has a powerful human story of recovery. And one of the best examples of that is this member who, thanks to SWORD, can now do something as simple as carry her daughter in her arms again. Again, something so simple, but that it was lost and that it means everything. I do believe that independently of all of our success, we still have not achieved our final destination, because we've barely scratched the surface of the magnitude of the healthcare problem. And we believe that stories like these are why we do this, and that there are many, many more stories to tell. And so today, we begin a new chapter. We begin the next chapter at SWORD. And we're going to do it together with our partners that believe in a better future for the healthcare world and are working alongside us to create that future. But before we open chapter 2, it helps to remember why we started. And the thing is, for most of history, healthcare has been fully dependent on one thing: the human, access to a human, either a clinician, a physician, a therapist, you name it. The reality is that there will never be enough of them, at least not at the scale the world needs. In the US alone, almost 100 million people live in areas without enough clinicians. So millions of people wait, or they give up, or they never get help at all. Over the years, the healthcare industry has tried to solve this problem in multiple different ways. Well, the first one, the one we know, traditional healthcare. Well, traditional healthcare delivers strong outcomes. That's a reality. But also a reality is that it only delivers strong outcomes when you can access it. Because access is extremely hard because, then again, depends entirely on clinician availability. Which means, because of that, it's hard to reach and even harder to scale. An evolution of that model was telehealth that made things a little more convenient. But it's still fully dependent on the same clinicians, the same schedules, and the same bottleneck. The access problem didn't go away. It just moved to a screen. And then the next evolution, which are digital health apps, which are much easier to access, but most of them simply don't work. Most of them generate weak outcomes. And all of them are too complex for users to properly take advantage of them. They have too many buttons, too many screens, and they are simply too hard to use. But here's the bigger problem, the one all three share. They are reactive and episodic. They only provide value when the user reaches out. Between visits, between sessions, nothing happens. It's crisis management, not continuous care. Either you have solutions that deliver strong outcomes but are hard to access, or solutions that are easy to access but deliver weak outcomes. You can only pick one. SWORD, through our pioneering work in AI care, we've been able to break that trade-off. And we've been able to prove, with our use of AI in healthcare, that quality and access don't have to be opposites, that you can have both in the same solution. And now, after these 5 years of intense work, we are ready to taking it further. But before we go into that, before we get there, we had to build an entirely new thing, where we look at the problem from a blank canvas perspective, with no legacy to protect and no constraints to work around and to adapt to. We look at the problem just with one single question. If we build healthcare from scratch, what should care actually look like? And the thing is, well, if we build healthcare from scratch without any compromises in the process, it honestly would look nothing like what exists today. First and foremost, it would be proactive, not waiting for you to reach out, but actually anticipating what you need before you ask. And it will be continuous, not an appointment every 2 weeks, not crisis management, but care that's there 24/7. And it will be personal, tailored to you, to what works for your body, your life, your goals, your idiosyncrasies. And in order to be personal and tailored to you, it needs to have memory, a long-term understanding of your clinical history. So you never have to repeat your story to another clinician again. And to make all of this work, it will be connected, because no condition exists in a silo. Your body is one system, your care should be too. So the question is, how can we make this dream for healthcare a reality? And we are lucky that every few generations, a technology comes along that changes everything. That makes what was once a dream suddenly possible. Well, electricity, that's one example. The internet, that's another example. And now, AI is the biggest technological wave that is going to transform how we do things. But if you ask me, where do I believe AI will have the biggest impact in the world? Well, I believe it's going to be in healthcare. Because nowhere else are the stakes higher. Nowhere else can it solve a bigger human problem. And nowhere else the gap between what people need and what they can access to so wide. And also, nowhere else can AI do more to close this gap. So today is the day that we've been dreaming about for years. When we started Sword, when we had the initial vision of using AI to make access to high-quality care as accessible as running water, we've dreamt about presenting this today. Because today we are introducing what we believe represents the future of the healthcare world. And with it, we are introducing the next evolution of Phoenix that powers that evolution and is built for the AI era. Phoenix is evolving from delivering sessions to providing continuous care 24/7. No more waiting hours or days for a reply. When a member wakes up at 4 a.m. with agonizing back pain, or can't sleep because of hot flashes, or is in the middle of an anxiety attack, Phoenix is there to provide immediate help when the member needs it the most. Not tomorrow, right now. And that's what healthcare should feel like magic. And we are doing this through an entirely new conversational interface, which means no more buttons, no more menus, no more learning a new confusing interface. Just conversation, text and voice, the way you already talk to the people in your life. Because for decades, we've been forced to adapt to how computers work. Now, for the first time, healthcare adapts to how humans communicate. And Phoenix doesn't just respond in a seamless way, which it does, but it does more than that. It acts in a multidimensional way, from exercise to education to nutrition to behavioral and social activation activities. Phoenix delivers multidimensional care that is tailored to the needs of each member at all times. all within the same conversation, seamless and personalized to what works for each member. One very important thing in this new model, which is we are building all of this anchored in one of our most important principles, which is that at Sword, I believe that AI should expand the impact and the reach of clinicians, not replace them. And so what this means is that in every conversation, as always in our solutions, the clinician is always there, watching every single interaction between Phoenix and the members, and stepping in when the situation requires human judgment, human nuance, human care. And since proactive care is only possible by understanding the full context and full picture of each member, we are integrating Phoenix with the full ecosystem of wearable devices to understand how each member is sleeping, how active they've been, their heart rate, their stress levels, and more, continuously 24/7. And we are also enabling Phoenix to integrate with the member's calendar, to understand when they are available, when key life events are happening, their work patterns, and the optimal moments to engage. Always with the member's consent, with the highest levels of privacy and security. And both integrations create a perception layer that gives Phoenix a complete understanding of each member's biological and social context. So it can intervene at the right moment, with the right care, before the need becomes a crisis. But context alone is not enough. Phoenix also needs to learn what works and keep those learnings. And that's why we've built something that never existed in healthcare before, a long-term clinical memory system. Because Phoenix doesn't just remember your clinical history. It does that, but it actually goes beyond that. It learns and knows what actually works for you, which interventions move the needle, which communication style resonates the best with you, and which moments are the right ones to engage. So, for example, when anxiety returns, Phoenix remembers that this happened before. He knows the breathing exercise that worked, and the timing and the approach. So that means that there's no starting over. There's no guessing. It connects the dots and is able to provide a very, very effective solution in the moment that you need it the most, immediately seamless. And this is how we are able to break away, finally, from this one-size-fits-all healthcare model. And the reason why Phoenix is honestly able to be so powerful and so capable is because we are doing all of this because we've trained our own proprietary foundational models, which were built specifically for the nuances and idiosyncrasies of each healthcare condition. And this matters a lot because if to do something like this, you use off-the-shelf models from the big labs, well, you are using models that act as a black box and were designed for general engagement and information retrieval, which, honestly, they are quite good at that. But they were not designed and built for clinical care. Because the big difference is with our proprietary AI models, foundational models, we are moving AI away from a passive information retrieval to active clinical reasoning. And the reason why it's important to understand in deep detail the inner workings of the model is because only through understanding the model, you can ensure safety and privacy. All the data happens and never leaves our ecosystem. We know which data train our models, and we know which clinical guardrails we built into that. So that then we are able to detect risk and escalate to our clinical team the moment the intervention is needed. This is chapter 2 of SWORD. We started SWORD with one belief, that everyone deserves access to world-class care. And with the new evolution of Phoenix, we are making that real. Proactive, continuous, personal, available 24/7. Healthcare that is a right, not a privilege, as accessible as running water. That's AI care That's what we are building. That's why we are here. Welcome to Chapter 2. Thank you.